For all of you out there listening, if you are in the market for any kind of software development needs, check out Studio NoCode. It's our agency that's built on Bubble experts with nearly a decade of experience building all kinds of Bubble apps: marketplace, social network, payroll company, catering business, data room, ad tech, legal tech. We got a little bit of everything. We've seen it all, and that helps us translate all of our knowledge into your app to build the best product for your customers. We built it professionally, we built it to be secure, and we built it to scale. And we're going to do all these things on time and on budget. So if you are looking for help getting off the ground, getting something to market, or anything in between, give us a call or an email or a carrier pigeon or whatever you want. Studio-nocode.com. We'll probably be there.
You're listening to This Week in No Code plus AI, with weekly episodes sharing the latest advancements of AI, plus exclusive interviews with founders using these tools. So without any further ado, let's get started. Welcome into This Week in No Code plus AI, ladies and gentlemen. We are so happy to have you back for another show for This Week in No Code. I'm here with David Powell, my co-host. I'm JJ Englert, excited for another show. We have an excellent interview with the CEO of Buildship today that is launching their new product 2.0. And she's going to bring you the latest advancements and why you need to be on it. Before we get into that, I have a quick announcement myself. My new SaaS, tradebacklinks.com, is now live. This was one of the things where for last year, I haven't built a SaaS. I've been busy with other things. And David, we've been talking about all these ideas, and all these ideas have always been like, nah, not that. And so finally, I came up with this idea, and I was like, I'm just going to build it. I'm not even going to think about the full thing. It took me a little bit longer. I was able to build it in about 50 to 60 hours, but now V1 is launched.
50 to 60 hours.
50 to 60 hours.
$10,000 you spent on this thing.
That is actually how I've been thinking about it, of like, okay, I now need to make at least $10,000 with this to quantify or to make that opportunity cost worth it. Mm-hmm. But I'll tell you one thing. I had a lot of fun. I've learned new things. This thing is packed under the hood because I'm a builder. I just like to build. And I had so much fun building it. I'm using like 10 different APIs. AI is just in every single aspect of it. And the whole idea is you add your domain, and then using AI, we'll turn on autopilot and every single day reach out to like-minded domains to try and get a backlink from them in exchanging some type of services, whether it's your affiliate program, social shout outs, exchanging links, etc. Using our AI, we'll use the best suggestions based on that domain, the rating, to get you that link. Usually, indie makers don't have time for this. Usually, people don't want to pay for SEO teams. But it's still important. It's still important to increase your domain reputation, your website traffic, increase your keyword ranking. So this is an attempt to use AI to solve that laborer's outreach. Tradebacklinks.com. Check it out. 7-day free trial. Otherwise, David, let's get on with the interview.
Let's get on.
If you're looking to learn the latest skills in NoCode and AI, you have to check out NoCodeAlliance.org. No matter if you're just starting out or if you're a seasoned pro and looking to specialize even further, we have courses at all levels and in all different tools. And we're adding new instructors on a monthly basis. So go to NoCodeAlliance.org, create your free portfolio, check out some of our courses, even apply to jobs while you're there. And then for employers looking to tap into the greatest AI and no-code talent, you could post a job there for free at NoCodeAlliance.org. Immediately access over 2,000 of the world's best talents. And if that's not enough, we have a feature where you could boost your job to immediately access 5,000 more no-code and AI devs throughout curated networks that we've put together with some of the best developers there. So go to NoCodeAlliance.org to get started, and I hope to see you there.
Throw another shrimp on the bobby and throw me a boomerang, because this is our second return guest, Harini, CEO, founder of Buildship. Welcome back to This Week in No Code and AI.
Welcome back.
Yeah, great to be back.
So you guys launched Buildship just about 1 year ago, right?
Yeah, it's coming to 1 year mark soon.
Yeah. And initially we featured you guys at one of our news snippets of like when you just launched. We just thought it was a great tool. We put it in NoCode News of the Day. And then we have since created this great relationship, mostly because you have a fantastic product. and your product speaks for itself. So what is Buildship and why are we here today?
Yeah. So Buildship is a product that lets businesses automate complex workflows. So you can think of it like a workflow building platform. But beyond that, it's really a backend building platform. So it lets you visually create your logic for your apps and backend in that step-by-step manner that everybody's familiar with. But when you actually deploy these, it's actually a very scalable backend. So it's not like a typical no-code workflow that can go up to a certain level. So it can scale infinitely as your app scales up and down. So we try to really bring the concept of building a solid backend for your product, but in a visual manner so that it can tap and unlock that opportunity for anyone, be it a technical person who can access and still build this way, or it be a non-technical folk who's trying to really build their idea. And then AI obviously has fueled this fire and made it really easy where you can prompt and start building your ideas. So yeah, that's overall in a nutshell what Buildship is. Um,
Is it appropriate to say that it's a more professional and scalable version of Zapier?
You could say that. So what we really try to make it here is that everything is customizable. You can use it like that no code experience of just plain vanilla integration, but you can actually zoom into the core of everything and customize it and make it your own. So you can take a node, make your own node, or be in between somewhere. So that's what we're trying to do. We're just trying to open up that flexibility and extensibility
So
opportunity.
when you think
And
about the
for
no code in space and the description of what this can do for different people, you say you could use it like a no code person or automation, or maybe it's a back end. When you think about your
Yeah,
North Star and who you're building for, you can't build for everyone. You're building for like one
right.
specific person on the other side of that screen. Who is that person? Like what? Not by name, but how would you describe the perfect ideal customer?
Yeah. So as you know, like this is a horizontal product, typically can be applied to any different use case, any type of persona. But what we are really trying to solve here is a business person in a company who has an idea. He or she needs to rally a team around it. But before that, they can just play around with it, build their idea, and then they can go deeper and start really building it out. At that time, they can pull in technical team members as needed. These members can work maybe just on specific nodes or things that would make this possible, uh, and really allow for that opportunity to collaborate for non-technical and technical folks. So it's not like a tool that you need to be strictly non-technical and it's only for you. It's really a tool that allows you to get your ideas out in the fastest manner possible in a way that it's not just an MVP. You can continue to build on it and scale on it and really ramp it up. So when you think about it, it's like a visual IDE or a development tool in that sense.
And do you see,
Mhm.
is that who's usually finding this? Is it somebody at work who wants to build something themselves? Are people hiring agencies and implementation partners to bring ideas to life? Is it usually the builder and user are the same, or are they, contracting out things?
Yeah, I mean, what we have noticed is like, it could be like a CMO. We have seen a lot of cases of this where a CMO is trying to build like a lead qualifier pipeline. They start playing around with something. They obviously pull in their team together, then start expanding further to go into the nitty-gritty details. So we have seen that case happening. And also we have agencies, a lot of agencies using it to build it for their clients, because when they hand it over, they're not handing over a code or a backend that they cannot continue to use. Here, they are really made it like a visual platform. They can come in and change things like, say, suppose the client just wants to change the prompt. They don't need to go back and forth. They just change the business logic part of it. And then they have like a good way to collaborate. So it's really a platform that solves that mid problem of bringing people together, a place where they can ideate, not just in a specific way. So we have taken that up a further notch with our new version that we are come out with today. So
So
yeah, super
launch day,
excited to share more about that.
congratulations. Launch day is here. What's the new launch? What's change? Why V2? Why market 2.0 now?
Yeah,
Exactly.
so like over 6 to 8 months, we've been working on solving all the problems that people are facing in the current version in a way of like really adding value in a way that helps them build even further in a better experience. So Our new version is essentially an infinite canvas where you can start exploring your ideas. So we have taken away limits for your workflow. Only the connected triggers count, right? Like, so essentially you can start cloning all these templates that we have so that you can tweak them to make it your own. So we don't want to limit people in the way they think about and start building the ideas. And we are really zoomed in on that user experience to make that process of how do you build a workflow. So you can start thinking of them as a granular building blocks. You can go from input, what are the logic blocks, and output, and just test that part out before you start integrating with other tools or other apps or other things on the other, the trigger ecosystem. So you try to make that separation. So you can think of it like you build, you connect, and you ship. And we also like invested a lot on making a really good testing experience, making the product enterprise ready with version control, code integrations, and monitoring, error handling, and reporting, things that will make your life as you build on Buildship much easier. And also like things that are more practical and meaningful, because I think pricing wise, people are a little bit confused about trying to understand Buildship pricing. So we've made it really easy to understand with credit based things. You can see exactly which workflow used how much credit, so you can optimize them further. We really made things more transparent in this version,
So
essentially.
can you explain the new
That's
pricing?
great.
What's the price and
Yeah,
Oh, wait.
okay.
Before we get into pricing,
yeah.
do you have a demo that you could maybe show?
Yeah, so we can try to build something really quick together if that is good.
I have an
Yeah,
idea for a
let's do
thing we need
that.
to build. If you want to build it.
Yeah, we can
No,
talk.
feel free
Yeah,
to share your screen, pull up
yeah,
something that you feel comfortable building live with us.
yeah,
Um, while she's doing that, I will say that I have already seen this, and I have been using Buildship since it's launched. Really, the thing that I see about it is it's that professional version of Zapier that it gives you much more control and the ability to really create anything. If Zapier doesn't have a specific Zap, that's okay. With Buildship, you can use AI to create those notes for you. And I don't know how to code at all, but usually with their AI assistant, I'm able to build my own nodes and connect it in that way where I just don't need to code. And so I built some really fun stuff with it, things that I could never build in like a Zapier or maybe even a Make with Buildship. One of the things being the YouTube video to blog converter that I use for NoCode Alliance. So I have hundreds of videos. And so I was able to build an automation on Buildship that took that YouTube video using the URL and then transcoded it and made it into an SEO optimized blog article that now lives on NoCode Alliance. And so there's a lot of really cool things about it. With 2.0 specifically, the thing that I think resonates a lot with me is they've kind of removed with the inputs and the outputs, they've removed that starting trigger where it's like you need this trigger and this data source to kind of do anything with it. Now it's more universal in the sense you focus on that logic and then you can connect that trigger, that data, anything coming into it to make it more universal with your workflows.
So, for example,
So
if I'm doing like lead stuff for sales, maybe I have HubSpot, maybe I have stuff coming from Calendly, maybe I'm entering things through with a VA. I basically have a core function that
right,
can then, read in from a bunch of different of these triggers instead of tying them all to one.
exactly. Yeah. And
yeah.
also, they've also introduced the ability for the community members to create triggers. And which I think is great because there's so many things that don't exist, very specific things that now you can commission their experts to build that trigger for you. A trigger could be something like, whenever someone mentions your username on Instagram, trigger this. And then from there, everything else is already built in Buildship for you to process that automation, but the trigger doesn't exist yet. But with Buildship, you have that flexibility to build your own triggers using code, no code, well, probably just code, and then being able to allow other
Code
people
and
to use
AI.
it as
Yep.
well.
Interesting. Okay, cool.
Yeah. So I mean, I can start from scratch just to give you a option, and then essentially let's build this lead qualifier, which is a common pipeline everybody builds. As you said, you can connect to any data source that is coming in, but assume that data has come in. Right now, you can just zoom into the input to output. Essentially, let's say you have an incoming email, which is what the most commonly data point. You can have all these other data points that is coming in from, say, HubSpot. Now you want to really let's say if you want to, if it's a business user, if the domain name is non-Gmail, non-Yahoo, and all those kind of things, and then you have other side which is personal user. So if you want to categorize the user that is coming in as a first step, you can really think of a bunch of options. We have all these flow nodes, but we also have a new thing called AI switch, where you literally can just define what the logic is. You don't need to think about like if then else conditions and really like, formatting it properly. You can really say like, hey, this is my incoming input that I want you to evaluate. So this is email. So you're basically just passing data from one thing to another. So this is the input. And then you can just define in plain English what the class one, which is this path, should take. So you can say if the email is a business domain and is not a personal email like, let's say Gmail, Yahoo, QQ, etc., then take this path, right? Yeah, so that's pretty much it. So now you have defined two kind of paths. This is the fallback path that is personal, and this is the business logic path. And say if it's a business user, then you want to set a variable. This is also a new field of node that we have. You can create local variables for use inside your workflow. You also have environment level variables that you can use across your workflows. So for example, let me add a variable here called type. And let's pick that up. And let's say we are classifying this as a business user. Oops. And then we have the other side. We can pick the same set variable node and then say the type here is the personal user maybe, right? Yeah, so this is literally built in the whole logic here. Now you can even further expand and say, use OpenAI or any AI model really to say, again, get more information. Okay, this is a business user. I want to learn more about their domain, right? Like the company, what they do. So your prompt here is the incoming email again. So you take your input and you put it here, and you're instructing it to use that email, use the email's domain and find out what the company does and give 1-2 sentence summary about the company.
Sure.
All right. Okay. So that's it. So now you have this whole thing working step by step. And then you have the last node, which is the output you want to give. So you can pick a node as the output. So output of this node could be the output, or you can also customize your output. So if I want to say the output is the type, and I can use the variable that we just created, sorry, the local variable type as one of the
Mhm.
output fields. And then I can have another output field, say string, and this could be the output from the text generator. So this
Sure.
one. And then here I can literally say, this is the summary, right? So if the flow really took this part, there will be nothing in the summary. If the flow took this part, there will be something about that company. So that's
Yeah.
it. Like we have kind of built this whole flow.
And then how would I take
yeah,
that
Yeah.
and maybe stick it into like a HubSpot? So, okay, great. This lead came in. I'm going to attach it back in.
Yeah, right. So before we do all of that, let's test this
Sure.
out, make sure it's working, right? Like, so
Great.
here we have also new version of this test panel, which is really geared towards not just testing, but saving your previous executions, and you can save as examples or see your previous execution so that can test, iterate, maybe something is wrong, you can come back and, fix it. So like, just like how developer would do, but in this visual way. So let me just give my email and see what it does. Yeah, so it's executing. You can see step by step what's happening. Yeah, so it says business user is not a Gmail. So Buildship is a company that specializes in collaboration and streamlines. Yeah, so it kind of tools some specific summary. You can go even further, right? Like essentially now, if you're happy with this, you can start building even further, maybe prompt a bit differently. You can use tools like Perplexity to learn a bit more about the user. There are tools like Apollo. So essentially integrate with any third-party tool and build out your idea. So now you have a completely working workflow. Now you can start thinking about that integration you said about HubSpot, right? For example. So that's when we connect to the connect section. And then here we have a bunch of options. This is what we're launching with, but we'll be adding more triggers soon. So HubSpot would be a trigger on its own here very soon. But we have this general purpose API, which can be used pretty much in any app that supports webhook, or any app in the front end. When I say you have a form in your app, and you click a button and it submits somewhere, right? Like this could be the API that is being called. So you
Sure.
could give it a name. Let's say lead qualifier gets connected. And then what this does is it's creating a unique URL for your idea, and then it'll come back with that.
That
You
way
can
you can give that URL to HubSpot to post those updates to or whatever.
Exactly. So whenever a lead contact comes in your thing, you can just pass in this. You can also, one of the new things we have added is you can also test the connection, make sure it's working. So right now this URL is ready. You have not even shipped, but this is ready for testing purposes. So you can copy this and head over to some other tool like HubSpot. But for this purpose, I'm just gonna paste it in HubSpot here. I've given the same kind of email here and I send it. And what you can do then is start listening for the latest requests. So if I do that, it should pick up the most recent request from you. You can look at that. And then what you can also do is map this to the incoming field. So if you didn't map your input schema automatically like this, say suppose you had some other name here, not email, you can just pick this up and add this to your input schema. So you can really define how your workflow inputs and your triggers incoming data are mapped
So if you
together.
needed to subscribe to a webhook where you just have to put a URL, but you couldn't change the body of that webhook, you could still map it to your inputs. Like if it was named something different,
Exactly.
you could have the Calendly,
Exactly.
the HubSpot, the other form, the whatever, they all send notifications. You could then map these all individually into the same workflow.
Exactly. So you can see how their schema looks like. Sometimes they might have some weird naming, like, with some numbers and stuff. So whatever it is, you can
Even if
map
it wasn't
here.
called email,
And then you
it
can
could
also,
say restaurant owner contact, whatever it is.
exactly. So you can
Yeah,
just
it's pretty free. You can pretty much do anything. That's the limits don't really exist here. That's one of the reasons why I love it. And you can even each of the nodes that we built with. So those for the listeners out there is like a step by step, and for each step you can expose the code of that step and modify that step via code at any chance if you need to. But also you have that no code interface, so you don't need to use that code in any way.
Exactly. So we didn't even open code for this whole thing. But the more interesting aspect is you can go into the code of every single node, make this your own, test it, customize it any way you want, and then you have your own custom version of OpenAI text generator. Or we have this option for you to see that, hey, what I want is not here. Then you can actually generate with AI, say that, hey, given these inputs, I want to do this. Here is a sample code snippet of that. But, if you have some new AI model launching tomorrow, you can just take the API documentation, paste it in, and generate your own node. So you don't have to wait on us to create an integration or a node for you.
And that actually works really well. A lot of people's like generate with AI doesn't work well, but this one does. I've actually built real nodes that I've actually used with it before.
Great.
Yeah, and then it's just like it has the production tools for logging, testing, all that kind of stuff that the Zapiers and those that just don't do that well. You can get very granular with every run, seeing what's being passed, what isn't, where it's failing, etc. And so you just have that production like environment in a very flexible interface.
Yeah. So in this V2, we have taken it up a notch, as I said, like we have, all the logging like before, you can zoom into every run in the last kind of many days and then actually retest them also if you want. We also have ability for you to look at version control. So, obviously I just created this, there's no previous version. If I ship this, you can actually have many versions so that you can roll back to a previous version if you want. You also have ability to then look at the monitoring section to see how it has performed over the last many weeks. So I just created now, but you can have the uptime monitoring here. You can get alerts for when things are going down. You can also look at the credit usage of how many credits are being used per workflow. You can optimize that further. So yeah, exactly. As I said, we're trying to make it super transparent and experience that a developer would have in that visual way, in a visual IDE type of experience.
Speaking of credits, how does your pricing work? Maybe pull up the pricing page or a module that we can use visually. Cool.
Yeah. So here's the rough kind of pricing page. You can go to the page also and check it out. But essentially what we do is the same pricing as it is currently effectively. So if you look at the monthly plan, It's exactly the same as what we have. We have a new plan called Business Plan that allows you to have more advanced feature. But our approach to pricing is essentially to make it really clear and easy for you to understand the credit based usage, and then also give you an option to pick and choose exactly what you want. So maybe you are a free kind of hobby user, a personal building some hobby projects. You can literally build a lot of things on the free plan. We have a lot of free generous tier, and you can also actually top up just the credits if you want. And then if you start building something meaningful, you can be on the starter plan. Here also, you can be on this monthly plan. And then these are the features that you want, that you're happy with. You just can continue on starter plan and keep adding credits. Say you have more execution, but you don't really care for more than 20 workflows, then it's fine. You can just buy top up credits. And then same for like pro, we have more options here that allows you to do more pro level team collaboration. And what we have really done is allow you to also pick and choose the add-on that really matters to you. So you can have like a no cold start in the starter plan now. And obviously, we also introduced yearly plan with a lot more discounts and more credits as a bonus one-time thing for the launch.
Cool.
Can you tell us maybe a couple really good examples of what users have built with Buildship so far? And you can also stop sharing your screen. I think we're
I did
we're
have
good
one other
there.
question
Thank you
about
for the great
pricing
demo.
before we move on to some examples. One of the things lots of people argue about on the bubble pricing side is it's really unclear what things cost. It's just kind of a big
Yeah.
black box of you kind of get stuck using whatever you want. Is there any way to know how much things are going to cost ahead of time? Or, like we saw 3
Yeah.
runs were 23 credits. Well, 3 and 23 don't go into each other. So if some took longer, some took less, like,
Yeah.
tell me about that.
So yeah, in that page, we really try to break it down. So every task or node execution is just 1 credit, and depends on how many times you execute that node. We also have 3 seconds kind of for a limit on every node. Typically, we have seen statistically almost every node executes under 3 seconds, and if you exceed that, is 1 extra credit per node. So suppose you have like a really inflated, bloated node that you've custom made that takes like forever time, then it's kind of a little bit on the time base, but you still can see every node how much it
Gotcha.
takes.
Okay.
And then the other thing that we have tried to do here is that if you're really reaching a point, say you're started building with Buildship, you're scaling and you're kind of a pro and business tier, but you really reached a scale where you want to go, scale up to millions of users. What we have done is we have this option for you to do at compute cost by bringing your own Google Cloud or AWS, that kind of environment. So self-hosting, where you're literally then paying the cloud providers. This is a Buildship project connected to your GCP. You can manage your own billing, so you don't have to, it's not crazy exorbitant cost as your company scales. Then you're just literally paying Buildship for like a platform fee, like an IDE for building and a collaboration tool. So that is also an option for bigger companies as they go. And then that's something people appreciate as well, because then they can have all the enterprise level features like connectivity to GitHub, managing your own version control, having a PR based system and things like that. So yeah, so essentially as I said, we are aiming for full transparency and flexibility here. So that's our approach and ethos when it comes to pricing.
That's great.
Yeah. Best app or some of the apps that you've seen built with Buildship that was just like, oh, that's a great example, or that's a great showcase. What do you got?
Yeah. So we're coming up with a lot of showcases and use cases today and on our website. One of the most interesting things is the World Health Organization's emergency preparedness plan team is being using Buildship for, across their teams, the way they interact with their documents and data, getting to information faster. I think that is a really solid use case of powering a really meaningful team. Obviously, we don't all want to be in another COVID situation, but, if things come to that, but everybody in the team is more prepared, and that is an exciting use case of Buildship and also LLMs and AI, how they are powering that.
And so what are they
wave.
doing?
And then we
They're
have also
taking documents, pulling stuff out, and then putting it into something else. What do they do with it?
Yeah, so there are a lot of AI assistants connected to different types of documents that their admin teams are powered with, so they can get to information faster. So we have that AI assistant builder on Buildship that allows you to have like a chatbot widget type of experience where you can simply have connections to OpenAI assistant or Cloud or whatever, and then have it connected to your database, and then get an interface, or you can build an internal admin tool that can interact with this data. So that's one of the interesting use cases. We have a lot of such AI assistant building use cases across the board. And then the second one, more interestingly, is the lead qualifier that I just showed, because what I showed is a really basic example, right? But a lot of people build really complex lead qualifiers connected to different kind of systems, maybe like KYC that requires some obscure API calling, but then they can build their own custom node, or like verification to some third-party provider. So those kind of things are really what we have seen is meaningful use cases being built.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, if you think about for the bubblers out there, this is essentially like an API workflow. And so instead of building an API workflow and backend workflows, you just build that workflow in Buildship and then just hit that URL that you've then had that you use in the API connector that will trigger that workflow and then return that data as you see fit. And so you could fully extend your bubble apps in that way. And they have really great like built-in nodes, such as like one of the, like you have like a Google Vision one. You have, Whisper and so many others. And so it's nice to have so many pre-built things for you to expedite things that are more in a pro-consumer way of like, this is, a very popular but more professional node and you have access to it. And now just connect it with these other steps and bring it all together. So that's one of the reasons why I love it. Why don't we just, as we work to wrap up here, talk about where you see this industry going in the next year or two. You've built this company, you're growing it rapidly, you're continuing to raise money and find success. But like, what is your vision for the future and for the future of Buildship?
Yeah, so we are envisioning a place where people come to collaborate. So another thing that I forgot to mention is that we have this ability for you to publish templates to the community. And what we are doing with that is opportunity for people to create like a creator ecosystem where they can potentially monetize these workflows, that right, they can sell it as it is, or they can also get extra credits from our when they publish to our community. We're essentially trying to create this ecosystem and opportunity for anyone, especially the visual builders, and we want to give them a place because it's like AI really is kind of making things expedited both for developers and non-technical users. So you really should be able to build your ideas, use AI to help you code. You can use AI to test. You can use AI to deploy. You can literally use AI for every part of the spectrum. So in 5 years, we can think of like everybody is a developer. Anybody who can think like a developer has idea, and that first of all, the motivation to sit and build things can actually start building things. So that's all you need. So that's where we are headed also in terms of building tooling to help that ecosystem.
And so you're seeing that more so like at the business level, people that are not technically developers are going to start just building their own software rather than subscribing to a SaaS out of the box. They'll just build their own custom solutions now that
Yeah.
they can with AI, no code kind of thing.
Exactly. So you can think of it like everybody has requirement for internal tools, for example, right? But everybody wants a different view. Maybe they're some customer support person focused on only certain things. They can just spin up a UI for themselves and connect to a backend for, they just need connectors to the databases that they already have, and they can now spin up a UI for themselves. So that is interesting. Even like, we were thinking the other day, like the form builders, for example, there's a lot of form builders, but you can literally now use AI to build a form and then save the data anywhere, right? Like even like need to sit and drag and drop things. So yeah, a lot of opportunity there. It'll be interesting to see where it's all headed in the next couple of years. But
One of the
exciting
things
time.
Josh said at BubbleCon this year was most AI builders are just day one AI platforms. You can get a shiny demo and
Yeah.
you could like type a prompt and get a demo, right? But then building something that's secure, building something that you can
Scale.
edit, that you can hand off, that you can test and log and monitor and all of those things is a completely different problem. What do you think about that?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So, literally you can go to cloud today and, tell what you want and get this interface where you can play around with. But it's your own personal kind of UI, right? Like you can't deploy it. You cannot, have like an authentication system on top of it. I mean, maybe they're building and working on it, who knows? But, those are the things that will be making this whole thing a product level opportunity. So it's not just like building for trying things out, but it's actually building for shipping and getting it ready for your users and things like that.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, I think it's a really exciting time for small businesses and many other non-technical people to start building stuff for the first time. And I'm excited to see how AI helps expedite that, but also I'm excited to see how non-technical builders handle this in the upcoming years as like they're now thrusted into more technical opportunities. And I'm excited to see how they handle that. And if they're just like, okay, I've been writing prompts for the last year now, like this just makes sense. Or if it's still pushback, there's going to be some training and some education for a lot of people needed, just like any workforce advancement. So yeah, I'm excited to see how rapid that is, and if it's like a really slow thing or if it's a more quicker thing. But you know me, I'm on the side of citizen developers, non-doubt developers building their own stuff, and I think there's a huge opportunity for it.
Yeah, 100%. So, super excited to see where it's headed, what people are going to build, and continue to evolve and support with Buildship the opportunity here.
Well, thank you for joining us today. If people wanted to learn more about Buildship and Buildship 2.0, tell us, when does it launch and how can they get access to it?
Yeah, so when this talk is out, like right now, it's
Hmm.
live. So they can go to buildship.com, get started. It's ready for access. You don't need to jump through some sign up page. And we love your feedback. We have a large Discord community of no-code, low-code builders. So we love for you to join us there, join the conversation. And we are really trying to build up this community of contributions and people to help each other out in terms of nodes and templates. So yeah, we'd love to see what you build, and head to buildship.com for all the next steps.
Cool.
Thank you. Appreciate you joining. And
Good luck. We'll come back for V3.
Yeah, bye.
so, David, during that interview, I gave a lot of my insight, and this wasn't a sponsor or anything like that. I like the product. I think they're doing a really good stuff, start to finish. I really like the product. What do you think, David?
I think one of the hardest parts about this kind of product is you leave everything up to the imagination of the user. Generally,
And it's a blank canvas.
it's a cold start. Well, they have a feature called cold start. It's not that, but it's like if you don't have a problem you need solving, and then go find their product, it's going to
and
be
know how to
hard.
think in a step-by-step way to like really process that problem.
Yeah. And like, one of Zapier's SEO moves is they just write articles about, how do you connect Google Sheets to HubSpot or HubSpot to
Sure.
this, or build
Very simple stuff.
like they're building all of these things. So you find what you need when you're searching for it, right? There's like intent-based thing. And I think there's another interesting feature that we had as she was talking about this. I was thinking about like, well, if I could train an AI to use Buildship, because I like the output of Buildship, I want to be able to prompt, not at the node level, I want to be able to prompt at the workflow level. I want to say, I want to build this, and it goes and does these things, right? It sets the base, right? I want to process a spreadsheet of leads and add these fields based on this other field, right?
Sure.
And I want it to then go, okay, here's the process I'm going to build, right? Here are the
Yeah.
pieces, and I can zoom in and I can tailor it, and I can then, day one versus day two. Now I have a day two problem. I can use Buildship to manage it.
Yeah.
It's still a creativity problem, which is why I think no-code tools like this will skew towards developers, because that's where they're thinking. Right? It's hard
Yeah.
for like the average person to jump on.
They might have that feature set. I'm not sure. And I know that I usually get started with one of the templates for some of that reason, but I could see that. I still think that, yeah, you still need a little bit of technical chops in you to like really process this. But if you do, even if you don't know how to code, you could take it pretty far. I'm interested to see how developers use this, adopt this, if they do adopt this, because I think that's a big pool, right? And you want to be able to get them there. And I think they have every reason to adopt it. I think it's scalable. I think you have the production tools. It's just different. And so maybe they don't do it because of that. And so I'm interested to see if the developers adopt it. I know no coders are adopting it well. It competes with that of like a Zeno and maybe not really a Superbase because that's
Early
more of a
database,
database, but like more of a Zeno. And I think this is more visual than Zeno in a good way, but I think similar power for both of them. And I think it's a good space to be in. So I'm excited to go along for the ride and see how they go and support them how I can along the way.
Definitely. Oh, yeah.
Awesome.
We'll have him on for another boomerang episode.
When V3 comes out. Otherwise, Buildship, thank you for coming on and showcasing
Congrats on the launch.
2.0.
Good luck.
Congrats on the launch. We are rooting for you in your fellow no code corner. And to all you out there listening, that's it for this week in no code. We'll catch you next week in no code plus AI. See you guys.
See ya.